I'm 32 years old, and until last Valentine's Day, I believed that if you stayed in public places, expensive places, or safe places, nothing truly bad could happen to you. My husband, Yusuf, and I chose the retreat because it was marketed as a private romantic escape. It was built around a lake, surrounded by trimmed hedges and soft lantern lighting. Everything smelled like jasmine and warm wood. Staff members whispered when they walked past. Even the water in the pool looked calmer than normal water. It felt like a place where nothing ugly could exist. We checked in mid-afternoon and were led to our room by a smiling concierge. The thickened red hallway carpet muffled the sound of our footsteps. I recall experiencing a strange sense of isolation, as if we had closed off the outside world. That was when we first saw them. They were sitting in the lobby lounge on pale leather chairs, facing the entrance like they were waiting for something. The woman noticed us immediately. She smiled too fast and stood up before we even reached the desk. "Oh, how lovely," she said brightly. "A young couple in Valentine's?" Her voice had the sweetness of someone who had practiced sounding sweet for a very long time. She introduced herself as Hannah. Her husband was Bates. He was thin, with watery eyes and a stooped posture that made his head tilt forward slightly, like he was always peering at the world. They congratulated us on our marriage, even though we had never told them we were married. Hannah laughed when I looked confused and said, "I can always tell." I thought that was strange, but not alarming. At first, they were simply everywhere. At breakfast, they sat 2 tables away. At the pool, they lounged in chairs just close enough to hear us talk. We walked along the lake path. They happened to be walking too, always slightly behind us. Hannah complimented my hair, then my dress, then my voice. She said I reminded her of herself when she was young. I didn't understand why that made my stomach tighten. One afternoon, she asked if she could take our photo. "We collect memories," she said, holding up a small digital camera. "People we meet, moments we love." I laughed awkwardly and said yes, because refusing felt rude. Bates took the photo. He didn't blink when the flash went off. After that, they became bolder. They followed us more closely. Hannah began touching my arm when she spoke. She asked personal questions about where we lived, how long we had been married, and whether we planned to have children. When we went back to our room one evening, they walked with us all the way down the hallway. Hannah looked at her door number and read it aloud. 217, such a lovely number. That night, someone knocked on her door at nearly midnight. Yusuf opened it a crack and found Hannah smiling in the hallway. "I just wanted to say goodnight," she said. Yusuf closed the door without responding. The next morning, Bates asked if he could take another photo because the lighting the previous day had not been true. Yusuf said no, and that was when everything shifted. Hannah's smile collapsed instantly. She stared at him with an expression that felt much too intense for such a small refusal. "You should be nicer," she said quietly. "You married outside your culture, and still you do not learn how to treat people." "I'm treating you fine," he said. "You're crossing boundaries." Something in me snapped. Before I could stop myself, I punched her. It wasn't dramatic. It was fast and ugly, and driven by instinct. My fist hit her nose. There was a dull crack and a soft gasp. Blood appeared immediately. The lobby went silent. Hannah didn't scream. She touched her nose, looked at the blood on her fingers, and then smiled. It was the calmest smile I'd ever seen. She wiped the blood away with a tissue from her purse. Bates calmly raised the camera and took a photo. The flash went off. Neither of them said a word. They turned and walked away. Security came. A medic was called. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely explain what happened. No charges were filed. No arguments followed. Hannah and Bates simply brushed off the event. But that night, they appeared everywhere again. They sat in the lobby. They stood near the pool. They lingered by the restaurant entrance. They never tried to speak to us. They only watched. It felt worse than before. Valentine's dinner was held in the main restaurant. Candles and roses and soft music. I wore a red dress Yusuf bought me. We danced to a romantic number and shared lots of nice moments. We tried to feel normal, but I kept scanning the room. They weren't there. After dinner, we walked through the garden path. The lawn was dimly lit. Red balloons were tied to chairs. The lake shimmered under the moonlight. We sat on a bench and talked about leaving early. All of a sudden, I heard rustling behind the bushes. Yusuf didn't hear it because he was talking to me, but I got a feeling of dread, like something very bad was about to happen. Yusuf saw me feeling nervous, so he asked me what's wrong. I was about to tell him that we should head to our room when I heard someone whisper, "Do it now." And before I could even react to it, I saw Bates coming out of the darkness holding a giant rock in his hand. He sprinted towards my husband and threw the rock, aiming at his head. Thankfully, Yusuf moved aside trying to dodge it, but the sharp end of the rock hit him on the forehead. It all happened so fast that I didn't know how to react. Yusuf screamed in pain and collapsed on the ground, grabbing his bleeding head. I started screaming for help. That's when Hannah came out from the dark, clapping and laughing like a psycho. She was constantly clapping, like a kid bursting with joy seeing something funny. I still remember her face as she laughed uncontrollably. She was so amused seeing someone bleed that I was questioning her sanity. Bates, on the other hand, stood like a statue with a blank face. I understood this man does exactly what his wife tells him to, and he too has no conscience or sensitivity. They kept crying and screaming for the securities to come, and they finally arrived. What felt more disturbing was that even when they were carrying my injured husband inside, Hannah and Bates stood there holding their ground, like they had no fear of the consequences of their actions. While leaving, I turned to Hannah one last time, and what she said still rings in my ear at night. She grabbed my hand like she was about to make a speech. Her eyes kept moving left and right weirdly, and then she fixed her gaze on my face. She grinned ear to ear and said I was lucky Bates didn't murder my husband. She also mocked me, saying I'm in no position to complain about them, since I hit her earlier. I finally realized why they were so cool with what they did. The next morning we left the hotel. Yusuf had bandages for a week. Our Valentine's experience was ruined, and we regretted not spending it at our house. It all could have been avoided if we never went to that retreat. My dad's friend is a retired cop, and he had his sources, so I gave him details about Hannah and Bates just for a background check. I had a selfie with them on my phone, luckily, so it helped track them down. What I got to know shocked me to my core. Hannah and Bates are brother and sisters living at the outskirts in a worn-out property. They don't mix or interact with the neighbors, but one of their oldest neighbors said that the duo is crazy. Their parents died in a weird house accident that no one could explain, and the kids moved foster houses until they reunited after turning 18. I still don't understand. If they were brother and sister, then why the hell did they introduce themselves as a couple? Maybe it's a trap to get close to other couples so they can pull off their freaky shit with them. Whatever their reason might be. I kept checking my windows for a month to make sure the psychos hadn't followed us home. I really hope they get caught some way or the other before they actually end up murdering people. Or maybe they have no one and just haven't found their victim yet.